Welcome to our deep dive today. We're tackling a big one, folks, knowledge and progress.
It's a really fascinating combo.
You've given us a real mixed bag of sources.
Yeah.
Physics, philosophy, history.
A little bit of art and pop culture sprinkled in there, too.
Yeah, it's all about how we learn, how humanity grows, how we shape the world.
Exactly. And it really makes you think about progress not just as new gadgets or discoveries,
Right.
but as a process, tied to how knowledge itself changes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's the how, not just the what.
Like one of your sources uses this great example of astronomers
Okay.
staring up at the night sky. For ages, those little twinkling dots were a mystery.
Totally.
But now, thanks to science, we know they're incredibly complex, distant stars.
Isn't that amazing? From simple observations to a deep understanding of stuff light years away.
It's the power of good explanations, right?
Yeah.
We know so much more than what we can directly see or touch. Atoms, the universe.
Things we could never experience ourselves.
And that's thanks to those solid, well-tested explanations like scientific theories.
Makes you think, though. How often do we just accept things at face value
Ooh, good point.
without really digging into the why? Like that old theory that everything's made of earth, air, fire, water.
Classic.
It's an idea, but it was untestable. Never
Mm.
really went anywhere.
Exactly. A good explanation, like a strong theory, it's hard to change.
Because it fits the evidence.
Right, precisely. Like a puzzle piece. Any tweak, it wouldn't fit anymore.
Makes sense.
It's like explaining why we have seasons. It's the Earth's tilt.
Yeah.
Explains why it's colder in winter, warmer in summer.
Oh, yeah.
And not just in one spot, but globally.
So it's not just any old tilt.
Nope, it's got to be just right to explain all the observations.
Okay, I get that. But how does all this connect back to us regular folks?
Well, it's a reminder to think critically about the explanations we encounter.
You mean in our daily lives?
Yeah, like are
Yeah.
we looking for those rock-solid understandings?
The kind that can really guide us.
Exactly. Or are we just skimming the surface?
So it's about more than just facts.
Okay.
It's about constantly questioning, seeking deeper understanding.
And that brings us to another cool concept your sources explore. Knowledge and progress.
Okay.
They're like two sides of the same coin. Progress is all about problem solving.
Right.
But guess what? Solving problems creates more opportunities to learn.
It's a cycle.
Exactly. Each step forward opens up new challenges, new rewards.
Like those early humans leaving Africa. New environments, dangers.
Force them to innovate, learn to survive,
Pushing them to create new tools, new ways of living.
leading to all the amazing human cultures we see today.
And what's fascinating is that humans, we're not limited like some animals.
Right.
Stuck with specific adaptations. We're universal constructors.
I love that term.
Me too. It's like we're built to learn, adapt, solve problems.
Absolutely. And the world seems almost designed for us to do just that.
Your sources call it the knowledge friendliness of the physical world.
Like the universe is an open book, just waiting for us to read it.
The resources are there, the patterns.
It's not hiding its secrets, it wants us to find them.
That leads to a pretty mind-blowing idea. The beginning of infinity.
Whoa. Yeah.
No limits to how much we can learn, how much we can create.
Infinite potential.
It's like we're just starting this incredible journey of discovery,
And every new piece of knowledge opens up more possibilities.
which makes you think about those societies your sources call static,
Yes.
where knowledge doesn't grow, traditions are rigid, critical thinking's stifled.
It's like being trapped in a room with the door bolted shut.
Makes you wonder, what doors are we keeping closed in our own lives?
That's a question worth pondering. And it leads us to how different explanations account for knowledge itself.
Okay.
Like creationism, for instance, the idea that all knowledge was implanted by a designer.
Interesting.
It sort of puts knowledge outside the realm of explanation,
Like saying, a wizard did it, and leaving it at that.
Pretty much. You get the answer, but you miss the whole mystery.
And your sources suggest other explanations, like Lamarckism, they also miss the mark.
They don't really explain how new knowledge comes about.
It's like trying to understand a symphony by just looking at the notes.
Exactly. You need to consider the composer, the structure, the emotions.
There's a deeper level of creativity at play,
And that's where neo-Darwinism comes in, with its emphasis on replicators.
like genes.
Genes and memes.
Oh, right.
Now, you know about genes as the units of inheritance,
Mm,
but memes are like genes for information.
those viral ideas that spread through culture. Catchy tunes, fashion trends. even the concept of memes itself.
Exactly. They replicate, evolve, shape how we see the world.
And your sources go deeper, asking how memes affect our thinking.
Right. Like some memes, they call them anti-rational,
Okay.
meaning they discourage critical thinking, keep things as they are.
It's like those memes keep us in that locked room. No questioning, no exploration.
Makes you wonder what memes we might be carrying without even realizing it.
Ones that are holding us back.
Right. But then you have what they call rational memes.
Okay.
Ideas that thrive on debate, evidence, constant refinement.
Like science.
Perfect example. Always questioning, testing, revising our understanding based on the best evidence.
So it's a constant process of opening new doors.
Exploring new rooms in this vast house of knowledge.
But that house, as we're about to discover,
Oh, yes.
it's a lot stranger and more expansive than we might think.
Buckle up, we're going deep. One of your sources dives into something that kind of bends my brain a little,
Yeah.
Gravity.
Okay, yeah, we all experience it.
Right, but what if I told you it's not actually a force, at least not according to Einstein?
Hold on, so if I trip and fall, it's not gravity's fault. I'm confused.
Think of it like this. Imagine a bowling ball on a trampoline.
All right, yeah. Makes a dip.
Now roll a marble near it. What happens?
It'll curve in like it's being pulled towards the bowling ball.
Exactly, but it's not being pulled directly. It's following the curve of the trampoline.
Okay. I kind of see that. But we're not marbles on a giant cosmic trampoline, right?
Well, not exactly, no. But this idea helps us understand how space-time works on a larger scale.
But how does it apply to us? Our bodies, society, all that.
That's where emergent phenomena come in. Basically, complex things come from lots of simple things interacting.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Like you can't study one person and understand how a whole society works.
Exactly. But then it makes you wonder, what's really real if everything comes from something smaller?
Yeah, does that make the small stuff less important? It's like saying a book is just ink on paper.
Right. You'd miss the story, the characters, the whole point. And speaking of what's real, your sources talk about finitism.
Finitism.
It's the idea that there's only a finite number of things in the universe, so we can explain everything with them.
But wouldn't that limit our understanding? Like, wouldn't we miss out on a lot?
Absolutely. And to show this, one source uses this crazy thought experiment. Infinity Hotel. Imagine a hotel with infinite rooms.
Okay, infinite rooms. Got it.
And every room is full. Then a new guest arrives. Can you fit them in?
Well, in a normal hotel, no way.
Oh.
But with infinite rooms, maybe you could just shift everyone down by one room.
There you go. Room number 1 is free. It challenges how we think about limits.
Yeah, that's wild. But even with infinite rooms, there's still stuff you couldn't know.
Exactly. You could never list the name of every guest, even if you had forever.
So even infinity has boundaries.
Yeah.
And speaking of vast and incomprehensible things, some of your sources mention the multiverse.
Yes. The idea that our universe might be just one of many. Mind-boggling, isn't it?
Absolutely. It makes you wonder if there are other versions of us out there. What does it all mean for our choices, who we are?
Big questions, for sure. But one source suggests quantum theory might actually help us understand the multiverse.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not as separate universes, but more like this interconnected structure where different possibilities exist at the same time.
Okay, so not like parallel worlds, but something even weirder.
Exactly. It uses this concept called interference, different universes kind of bumping into each other, even though we can't directly see them.
Wow, okay. So what once seemed impossible is now part of our scientific understanding.
Right. And that reminds me, your sources about Einstein bring up another point, how bad philosophy can actually slow down science.
Okay, interesting. How so?
Well, take instrumentalism. It says science just needs to predict things, not explain them.
Like saying, who cares how a plane works, as long as it flies?
Exactly. But without understanding why it flies, you can't improve planes or invent new ways to fly.
So we need the why to truly progress. Makes sense.
And another one is positivism, which claims only directly observable things are worth studying scientifically.
But wouldn't that rule out so much? We wouldn't know about black holes or atoms.
You got it. And your sources argue these ideas lead to what they call bad science.
Like what?
They give this example of a study on happiness that only looks at how people say they feel.
Without digging into the real causes.
Exactly, like trying to measure temperature by asking people if they're hot.
You might get some data, but it wouldn't be very accurate. You need to understand what causes temperature.
Right. To make real progress, we need those good explanations. But how does this help us make decisions in real life?
Yeah. Good point.
Your sources suggest it's all about choosing explanations, not just weighing evidence.
Okay.
They use the example of apportionment. It's about dividing seats in a legislature based on population. Sounds easy, right?
But there's so many ways to divide things, like splitting a cake fairly when everyone wants different sizes.
Exactly. There's no one right answer because fairness depends on your perspective.
So even math can be influenced by our values.
Absolutely. Different ideas of fairness lead to different mathematical solutions. Some prioritize proportionality, some minimize differences. It's a philosophical choice.
Not just about crunching numbers then.
Right. And some of your sources even critique social choice theory, which tries to define the will of the people through voting.
Okay, that's a big one.
They argue it often fails because there's not always a single clear will that voting can capture.
Because people want different things.
Exactly. They point to these things called no-go theorems, which show even reasonable voting systems can lead to weird outcomes.
Like trying to build a perfect machine, only to find out the laws of physics won't allow it.
Perfect analogy. So, if voting can't perfectly represent everyone's wishes, how do we make good decisions as a group? Your sources say it's about focusing on creating and choosing good explanations, not just tallying up votes.
So more about the why behind our choices.
Exactly. They emphasize critical thinking, open debate, being willing to change our minds. Does that make sense?
It's like good decision-making is a process, an experiment almost.
Exactly. You're constantly testing your assumptions, looking for new info, ready to change your mind.
And some of your sources get really deep, talking about consciousness itself.
Ah, yes. Even with all our scientific progress, we still don't totally get it.
Like, how do we experience things? The redness of red, the sound of music.
Qualia, those subjective experiences arising from physical stuff in the brain, it's a mystery.
We can build supercomputers, but we can't recreate the feeling of seeing a color. It's almost poetic, isn't it?
There's this profound mystery right at the core of who we are.
Makes you wonder, are we even able to fully grasp it? Are there limits to what our minds can understand?
Big questions. And then there's that other big one. Are we alone in the universe?
It's a Fermi paradox, right?
Yep. If the universe is so vast and there's been so much time, why haven't we met any other intelligent life?
It's a question that's puzzled people for a long time. Are we really unique? Or are there others out there, maybe way ahead of us?
It's both humbling and awe-inspiring to think about. We might feel advanced, but maybe we're just getting started.
What if the biggest discoveries are still out there? And as we learn more, we face new ethical challenges too.
Right, like this thought experiment your sources bring up. Imagine a supercomputer that can simulate every possible AI program.
Okay, so like a digital universe full of virtual minds, each one experiencing its own reality.
Exactly. But here's the dilemma. What if some of those simulated minds are suffering? Maybe it's a glitch, maybe part of an experiment.
But would it be ethical to shut down the computer, knowing you'd be ending the existence of those virtual beings?
It makes you question what real suffering even is. If a simulated mind feels pain, even if it's just code, does that make it less real?
Do we owe it moral consideration? It makes you think about consciousness in a whole new way.
And as our power grows, our responsibility grows too. We have to use our knowledge wisely.
So it seems like your sources are cautiously optimistic about the future. We've come a long way, but there's still so much we don't know.
Like we're explorers on the edge of a new continent, full of wonder and maybe some danger too. We need to be curious, but also humble.
And ready for the unexpected. The universe is full of surprises. Our understanding is always changing.
It's a journey, that's for sure.
Well, we'll leave our listeners with a final thought. If progress really has no limits, what does that mean for humanity? What role will each of us play in shaping that future? It's been a fascinating deep dive, and I want to thank you for guiding us through it.
It's been my pleasure. These are the kind of conversations that keep us all learning and growing.